GPO. Estrogen, 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 estrogen. I'm deeply interested. I'm deeply interested. I'm deeply interested in the amount of estrogen floating around the GPO.
All you hear is the men you see. The women are erased. You would never know they lived. You would never know they fought. No, you would never know they were there.
About the term unmanageable revolutionaries, which came from a phrase used by Eamon de Valera to a researcher. He said women were at once the boldest and most unmanageable revolutionaries. And given Eamon de Valera's background, I think you can be sure that he didn't mean it as a compliment. And famously, the women who went to the Boland's Mill outpost in 1916, at the start of the Easter Rising, boldly asked to join the outpost and were refused permission by its commandant, one Eamon de Valera.
What's the matter with you?
So they boldly went to where they would be accepted and refused to be content with that assigned gender role. Women demanded a place in the public world that men assumed was theirs.
I'll tell you where some of them were, some of the names you know anyway. Constance Markiewicz was in Stephen's Green fighting, as was Margaret Skinner. Madeleine French-Mellon was there too, so was Rosie Hackett, who just had a bridge named after her. Helena Maloney was in City Hall, along with Dr. Kathleen Lynn.
Like Helena Maloney said, we didn't do it for the love of any man, we did it because we wanted to do this.
Maura Hewley, Maura Walker, was in Jacob's Biscuit Factory. Susan Mitchell, the journalist, was finishing her biography of George Moore, which was going to cause a lot of trouble when it was published. She was also walking out of parties that General Bloody Maxwell walked into. Elizabeth O'Farrell and her partner Julia Brennan were in the GPO, along with Winifred Carney, who was James Connolly's secretary.
I'm deeply interested in the amount of estrogen floating around the GPO among all those gay women, including Elizabeth O'Farrell, while James Connolly said, but what about me gangrene? I'll be with you shortly. James, gotta kiss my woman.
Elizabeth O'Farrell acted as a courier and a nurse based in the GPO. She was the person who took Pearse's surrender notice to the British Army, and she was the one who then had to carry it around to each of the garrisons for counter-signature. Incidentally, De Valera wouldn't accept this notice from her and sent her away to secure a direct order from Tom McDonough in Jacob's factory. By the time she'd achieved this, De Valera had surrendered anyway. Taken by an official army photographer to record the moment. Here you can see that O'Farrell stands beside Pearse as he surrenders to General Lowe. This is the original. Pearse does not have 4 legs. Those are Elizabeth O'Farrell's teeth. Pearse is not wearing a dress. That is the end of Elizabeth O'Farrell's skirt, and that's probably her nurse's apron that you see the white band underneath. Now you see her. And now you don't.
In Glasnevin, for Elizabeth O'Farrell and Julia Brennan. Finding the words carved on their plain granite headstone, faithful comrade, lifelong friend, reminds me of my grandmother who used to say, There was none of that in my day. I wish I could ask the faithful Julia and Elizabeth, were they grateful for the mercy of sharing a grave? Did they choose those words to save them from shame? Did they have someone to tell that though the words said so much, they didn't say enough? And when they nursed the rebellion's wounded, did they question the cost of a new free state?
Defying, and I'm a community activist, and I've been an activist for a long time. And I resonate with those women, because those women back in 1916, not only 77 but 200 women in the city played an active role in delivering the Republic. And it wasn't that there were nurses or cooks or messengers. They stood shoulder to shoulder with those men. And when they marched from their battalions, they marched in defiance, and they marched singing, particularly the Marble Lane women. They sang all the way to Richmond Barracks. When they marched out against hostility, but they marched out in defiance of God save Ireland, cried the heroes. God save Ireland, say they all. Whether on the scaffold high or the battlefield we die, oh, what matters when forever and dear we fall. 100 years on, we hold their flame, still marching, still fighting to be treated the same. We want equality with men, and we want to be as equal as men in this society.
And so we name these unknown women, these young women. We restore them to history. We shine a light on the central and vital role they played, not just in the Rising, but in the revolutionary years that followed, and in the years after that, where perhaps the promise of equality was betrayed by the state in which they found themselves. But that didn't defeat them. They kept fighting.
We found that 1916 was only the beginning for so many of these fantastic women. But there's one thing that shines about them, is that they knew what they wanted that republic to be. It wasn't going to be a change name. They wanted that change from the ground up, and to be different and to benefit those who hadn't got a voice, basically the people in their communities.